It's Smokin and Toastin. We're live at the Big Smoke in Las Vegas, where we've been coming to you all weekend, and we are thrilled to be sitting with, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most influential names in the cigar business there is, Mr. Rocky Patel. Rocky, welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Great to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
It is a real pleasure to have you on, and it's been a pleasure to be smoking your cigars for as long as we have. Take me back to when you first decided, because I know you were doing Indian tobacco, when you first decided you were going to release a cigar under the name Rocky Patel. Were you worried at all with it not being a name that sounded like it was Hispanic or from South America? That these days you wouldn't think twice about it, but back then.
Absolutely. In fact, my brother and my cousin thought I was crazy. So, what happened is after we launched our initial Indian tobacco brands in 1996, and at that time we were letting other people make our cigars, and unfortunately, I'd come up with great blends, but then when I got the product from other people that were making it, they would be inconsistent. They would cheat on the curing, on the fermentation, might change the binder, wrapper, etc. So we decided to take control of our own destiny, and we finally had our own production. So all the strict quality control standards that I saw that were possible to implement in our own factory, we did. We looked, and I visited every factory in Honduras, Nicaragua, Dominican. I took all the good characteristics and traits they had, and I tried to get rid of the bad ones. And finally, when I felt like I have the strictest quality control standards, that's when I was proud to put my name on it. And ironically, my brother and cousin says, "Who the hell's Rocky Patel? Nobody cares about it. You're not Cuban, you're not this, you're not that." And it was difficult at the beginning because, everybody told me this is a business that's usually passed on from generation to generation. You have to be of Cuban descent, Latin descent. You can't just be some guy that walks into the cigar industry. And I said, well, guess what? My antlers went up, and when somebody tells me I can't do something, I told them I'm going to show you. So, I worked diligently, very hard, a lot of sacrificing family, friend relationships, but I was very passionate and determined, and I'm glad we did it.
Now, you mentioned quality control, and that being the reason you really wanted to kind of take things under your own name. These days, as popular as your line of cigars has become, you're producing a lot more cigars than you were back in those days. How do you keep quality control at a consistent level when you're doing as many cigars as you do?
Well, that's something I'm very focused on. I always tell people don't remember the 100 good cigars they smoked, they remember the one bad one. So we really pay attention to that, and regardless of the volume, we make sure that we spend a lot of time in the curing and the sorting and the fermentation. Many times we stop rolling a particular blend like Edge or Decade for 3 months, 6 months, because one leaf in the entire blend needs more time. So I'm big about spending the 2 to 4 years on fermenting the tobacco. I'm very, very big on aging the tobacco. We never use tobaccos that are at least 4 or 5 years old. So we're very determined. It's hard when you make about 20 million cigars like we do, but I promise you, not one cigar is getting rolled unless we have the same standards as the first 100 cigars we rolled.
That is awesome. Pastor, you?
I got to say, I'm being a little fanboy here because Rocky Patel cigars are some of the earliest cigars that I smoked when I started smoking cigars. I didn't start until I was later in my 30s, actually, and I remember all those awesome blends, the 92, the vintage series, the Decade, the 15, the 55. Yeah, I mean all those so good. What's coming up in the future? What do you have coming up new?
Well, we're excited to re-release the Old World Reserve. There's been a lot of demand for it. So we're excited to release that at the trade show at IPCPR in Vegas next year. And then we're working on a secret project that I can't tell you about, but it might be the greatest launch that we've ever made in our history. So we're going to see if this deal goes through, and if it does, it's going to be something quite popular and big that the entire world will recognize the name.
Well, that would be a big deal because so many of your launches, every time you've done, the Decade or the 55, which I just have to stop and say, by the way, 55, everybody has their favorites. 55 is on my short desert island cigar list. Do you have a favorite in your line?
Well, 55 happens to be one of my favorites. So I usually like the richer, fuller cigars. So I would say that the Decade, the new special edition, the 2006 vintage, and the 55 are now the top 4 ones in my repertoire that I keep, changing around and smoking. So those 4 are my new favorites.
That's awesome. Now, I know you spend a great deal of time, as do Nish and Nimish as well, on the road, visiting with people at events like this or in cigar shops or doing. How much time do you have to blend cigars when you were as ruthlessly promoting them as you do?
Well, I used to spend a lot of time on the road. I don't spend that much time on the road anymore because I'm very, very busy in Washington, D.C., fighting all the FDA regulation, lobbying, the lawsuit, et cetera, et cetera. So, I make sure that I'm involved in every single blend that we make. I don't think there's a cigar that we've ever launched that I've not worked on the blend. And the process takes 2 years. I mean, by the time you start and you're looking for the flavor profiles, and then you change one priming, you change the binder, you change a little bit of the fillers, and then you have to wait 4 months before the cigar ages, because when you smoke it, it tastes one way. After it ages 4 months, it tastes totally different. It tastes different in Honduras and Nicaragua, because you're in the mountain climate over there versus when you bring it back to Florida. So you really have to spend almost a year to 2 years reworking it, smoking it, trying it. So it's a process and work. I mean, we're already working on blends right now for 2 years from now.
Wow. Where do you think? Yeah, go ahead. He's got to take the call real quick. So let me just remind you that we're on Smokin' and Toastin', and we're with Rocky Patel. We're live at the Big Smoke, and this is this is how stuff goes when you're doing these things live. I wanted to ask Rocky too about the time that you're spending in Washington. I know, which has become a bigger and bigger part of what you do. Is that what was behind your great "Socialism Stinks, Cigars Don't" campaign?
Absolutely. We want to show the government that, this is a lifestyle luxury product, something that we're very proud and passionate of. It's a product enjoyed much like a single malt scotch, a great bottle of wine. And we really are adults that want our personal freedoms, rights, and privileges. And I think we're smart enough that we don't need the government to tell us what to do. And so I came up with this logo, Socialism Stinks, Cigars Don't, and it's absolutely meant for Obama and Hillary. So, we wanted to let them know that, we're taking a poke at you in a fun way.
My last question, I'm sure Ian's got another one, but my last question for you, where do you think the best cigar tobacco in the world is coming from right now?
Well, I absolutely think Nicaragua right now is producing some of the finest tobaccos in the world. Ironically, we have our own farms in Esteli and Condega. I think that tobacco is unparalleled in flavor and character and taste, richness. So, I just think that's special. Listen, tobacco from Jamastran Valley in Honduras is very, very good also. It's got that sweetness that you don't find. It's almost as sweet as some of the tobacco you find from the old Cuban valleys. So, I think Central America is real special.
That's awesome. Ian, anything else you want to add?
No, you guys covered it all.
Rocky, we want to thank you so much. We appreciate everything you do for the cigar industry. We also just appreciate your blends and your passion for cigars and tobacco. Thanks for spending some time with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for Smokin' and Toastin', and love to be on your show, and good luck to you guys, and hope to catch up again.
Can't wait to find out whatever this new project is all about.
I'll let you know when it comes out.
It's Rocky Patel, and we're Smokin' and Toastin'. Rocky, thank you so much.